Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. This is Ketchup. My name's Peter. This is a show for cool people, talking to cool people. I'm the cool people, and I get to talk to the cool people. So I'm really, really excited on today's episode, as I always am, because all the guests that I've been able to get in touch with and talk to have been people that I personally am inspired by, or I really find cool, or that do something unique in the online space. So today we are talking to Livin Lavish is his Instagram handle. You got to check him out. Very, very cool dude. We've talked in the past. We've met up at some local car meets and some things in the Detroit area, and just a really neat guy and somebody who I feel like does digital marketing and influencership better than a lot of other people. And I like the trajectory that he's on. It's always cool to see him succeed. And we talk about some of that stuff in this episode. Some really, really cool stuff he's been able to be involved in. So, yeah. Get ready for an episode talking to Livin Lavish. All his links are in the description. Feel free to check him out. This is Ketchup. Thanks for listening, and have a great one. Here we go.
It's been a while. What's going on, Peter?
Not much, man. Not much. Exploring the great West out here. I'm in Arizona right now until
That's
March,
awesome.
probably. So just, watching the desert sunsets and all that stuff.
Nice. Where are you at right now? Are you in the RV?
Yeah, yep, yeah. We're out here until God knows when. Just seeing the sights, cruising around. It's been great.
Let's talk about free, man.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, as far away as you can be from Michigan and from the a whole other side of the country. So
Yeah, definitely.
that's dope. Well, I'm glad I got to grab you, dude. I'm excited to talk about some stuff.
I appreciate you having me, man. I'm humbled at the same time, and thank you.
Yeah, for sure, dude. No, I feel like. For context for the listeners here, like we've met a couple times, first doing another podcast, and then just kind of I'd see you around at like car shows and stuff and all that.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I don't know, I've always thought of what you do on the influencer side is like really cool, and you seem to do it different than other people I've seen in the space.
Yeah.
So it's a perfect match here. You're the exact genre of person I want to talk to. So we can kind of jump into some stuff. I don't want to waste your time, but I have fun questions.
Man. Today I freed it up just for the podcast.
Dope.
I enjoyed talking to you and enjoyed the last podcast we had. So
cool. Yeah, no, that's sick. All right, cool. So I just to kind of give an introduction of yourself to the listeners here. You talk about like what your online persona and your presence is, and what Livin Lavish means, and where that comes from.
Absolutely. So. I got into marketing in college, and then there was this new thing during college. At the time, it was still kind of in its baby form, I would say, is the influencer marketing. Instagram was definitely a good place to start that and just kind of get an idea of how marketing works. Instagram before, when I started at least, did not have ads. So everything was pretty organic as far as just advertising, but organically, whereas people would see what you post and what you use and what you eat and what you wear, and ultimately go and buy that product.
Yeah.
Collaborating with different companies and just kind of subtle marketing is what influencer marketing is. It's lifestyle marketing at the same time. So I've always been what I kind of portray on Instagram. As far as, fashion, car guy, pretty much a big foodie, which is something we could talk about. Just started introducing it to my Instagram and my fan base. So I pretty much was like, okay, let me showcase what I do, and hopefully at the same time work with these brands that I've been wearing my whole life, or, get into the car scene, because I'm always, kind of in awe in any kind of car scene. It's like a kid in a candy store. So at the same time, once I started kind of utilizing the tools on Instagram and posting about it, my following grew. It's because people kind of connected to it, and people are like, okay, this guy's showcasing what we've, the car guys especially appreciate it, because I was able to, the difference between me and a person that's going to the car show is I know how to edit videos. I know how to kind of get these angles that I've seen on YouTube for so long.
Yep.
And just kind of use that and showcase it in a way where they felt like they were there. A lot of people, they don't want to make the trip out to a car show, or they're kind of introverts and they don't want to be in that scene where it's like hundreds of people gathering with cars and it's chaos sometimes. And it's like, they just want a glimpse of that window of that lifestyle, and it's fine, and it works. So in
Yeah.
that sense, I mean, it grew from the car scene and editing my videos to, okay, let me showcase some fashion, some clothes, and started collaborating with companies that I love to work with. Um, and that, and like a couple times where it's like you're doing this influencer marketing and it's not kind of catching traction, and you kind of get discouraged. You're doing it for so long consistently and it's not doing anything for you. So little things that kept me going, that showed that yes, progress is happening, is, let's say, a company would reach out to me even if I wasn't interested in that company, wasn't interested in working with them. It's like, okay, yeah, they notice me, then the company I want to work with is going to notice me also. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
I have this right here. This is actually one of the things that kept me going as far as influencer marketing goes and running my page. It's actually from Will Smith's clothing company.
No way.
Yeah. And it was like during the time, it was 2019. So this is dated 2019. So this literally, I was like slowing down on posting. I was like, okay, I'm not catching any views. I'm not, the numbers really get to someone,
Oh,
and it's kind of discouraging. And then I get a care package in the mail. I order stuff all the time, and it's a big box of clothes from Will Smith's clothing company, and it's signed, Will signed it. And he's like, it's like, I identified you as one of the most engaged, supportive fans, and it's my pleasure to send you some official gear. Wear it with pride and tag us. Please tag us.
Yeah.
So it's like,
that's so sick.
Yeah.
That's one of those things where like you'll be able to point to that forever and be like, yeah, that was, even at a point that felt like a lull, there were still these really concrete things that were moving it forward, which that's so cool.
And I think that's what keeps anybody like going in any career or any kind of life journey. Yeah. It's like something that's concrete, even though a lot of stuff we do isn't tangible progress. Everything we do, whether it's pursuing a music career or pursuing a career in, any kind of career, it's like, okay, you're not seeing any kind of milestones, but one big one might keep you going, something concrete, something tangible.
Yeah, it's right around the corner.
This was one of them. Yeah.
Yeah. That's so cool. That's so sick.
It was 3 years ago. Yeah, it's crazy how time's flying. I had like 6,000 followers at the time, which is a lot at the time. Don't get me wrong, but it still wasn't like catching enough traction where the big companies would notice.
Yeah. Hadn't arrived at that point where it had like its own stability, its own trajectory. But you're like
absolutely
right on that brink, right on the precipice.
Exactly. It was either give it up or go do something, focus on something else, because I'm putting a lot of time into editing videos, into posting, and it's like, okay, you get discouraged like any human would, but you got to keep going. I mean, whether it's your subconscious telling you to keep going or something as small as a letter from a person you looked up to your whole life, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's so cool. I wanted to ask you about stuff like that with affiliate and like marketing through a company, because obviously that's like your trajectory. That's the tool you use to promote stuff. And I've seen a lot of people online, especially probably within the last like 6 to 8 months, talk about kind of the state of Instagram. And you talk about, there were no ads at the time when you started. And you think now as an Instagram consumer, you go on there and it's like 80% ads, 20% content from somebody you don't follow. And then, maybe 0.001% is like somebody you want to actually see content from.
Absolutely.
And it seems like a huge mess. What do you think is like the future of that? Do you think that Instagram's still a good place to post?
Yeah, absolutely. So Instagram is one of the few apps or platforms that's still alive and thriving today. Like Vine, for example. Not sure if you remember Vine.
Oh yeah.
It got bought out and died out. The big ones are TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. I can't think Facebook is always going to be around, but it's it's like it's a different demographic. Older people are still using it. I don't know if any of my friends are still using Facebook, to be honest with you. Their excuse is always like, oh, I have family on there, I want to stay connected with them. So Instagram is always changing, and that's one thing a company has to do to stay alive. I always like to reference companies that died because they didn't get with something called the internet, like Blockbuster, for example. I mean, it's a prime example. Netflix offered to get bought out by them, and and stream services and do stuff. And like, okay, this is where the world is going. They're like, no, we're not changing. People will always come to the store. Well,
Yeah.
guess what happened to them?
Of course. Yeah.
So, you know, and Instagram shows me that it's like, okay, we're always trying to change and trying to keep up. Like Reels, for example, Reels are, I want to say when TikTok came out, TikTok is videos only.
Right.
And then Instagram was like, we have to somehow get people. They had IGTV for a little.
Sure, yeah.
And that didn't work. That didn't catch any traction. So they cut it right away. They're like, all right, what can possibly get people to like us as much as TikTok? And Reels is a good way, obviously. And it's catching a lot of traction, Reels. So one of those things with Instagram, and going back to your questions, how do you kind of stay strong on Instagram, have a strong presence on Instagram, is one of the interviews that the founder of Instagram, they had with him. And he was just trying to say that Instagram's main focus, just like TikTok, is growing small influencers, small influencer pages. We're not going to be pushing these million follower pages and you're constantly going to see the same person. Oh, that runs Instagram. No, we're going to be focusing on the small influencers, just like how TikTok does. Now, I'm sure you heard like TikTok, anybody that talks about TikTok is like, I want to go on TikTok to get famous, because that's the spot to get famous. Right. You need, you know, it's TikTok is very good at putting what you like in front of you on the explore page. So, you know, like these platforms, I want to say Instagram and TikTok, they are constantly trying to change and grow and compete with each other. At the same time, Instagram is pushing for little pages to grow, which, you know, I'm in that category. I mean, I'm at 16,000 followers, but that's still small compared to, you know, these huge companies and these huge pages. So you'll see like a video on a small page go viral because Instagram is pushing this small follower or the small page to, you know, gain and grow traction. So that's what I like about Instagram. That one of the founders at Instagram said that's their focus. This new change is for. So I was like, I can appreciate that. Because that's what grew Instagram in the first place.
Yeah, it's interesting with Instagram being owned by Facebook and kind of knowing like the roles that those two places have taken, because I think that a lot of people's gripes with Instagram for a time was, you know, why is there any focus on influencers or whatever? I want it to only be pictures of my friends and whatever. But I think that I don't know. I think maybe it's a specific generational experience, but I feel like I get a lot more out of Instagram from the side that's like influencers, like people whose content they're making something and they're putting it out there, whether that's photographers or, you know, people that make kind of lifestyle influencer marketing type things. Like, I feel like there's a lot of value in that. So it's cool to hear your perspective as someone who's actually doing that. Say, you know, that it's not really like they're taking away from the platform. They're actually adapting. And if they didn't do that, they would become Facebook, where we all would kind of go, yeah, I guess my grandma's on there, but I'm not. You know,
exactly.
Like, and that's a huge, that's a huge thing you want to avoid, that there's going to be other social medias. But I think that had, you know, if when Vine was going on, like Facebook launched a very direct competitor to that, maybe that competitor would have outlasted Vine kind of blowing up and then dying. So there's always opportunity to be the company that sticks around because you innovated, because you changed. And if you don't do it, you die in the water. And then it's like, okay, well, now we remember those companies. And it'll be really interesting to see how it plays out, because I think there is a lot. It's a point right now with, as quickly as TikTok became gigantic, for like Instagram and a couple other platforms to figure out what their niche is, especially with things like Twitter going through a bunch of business upheaval, and like Facebook and Meta kind of going this other metaverse route and whatever all that looks like.
Way, I haven't even dove into that. I'm like, it's like a wormhole, you know?
No, me neither, because it's so confusing, and I feel like it's going to be 10 or 12 years before they like get everything together and they can like present a product. But it is really, I don't know. It's fascinating stuff.
And just like how Instagram and these platforms have to change, influencers have to change too. Influencers have to adapt. Like, you know, photographers are, they're pushing reels. Let's put our photos in a reel. This is what you have to do to change, to stay, you know, kind of relevant, you know? That's what I've noticed with my page is like, okay, you know, the cars is good, but it hasn't grown my page. It stopped at one point. Like, okay, I got the car community in Michigan. Like anybody that needs, that needs kind of info on car meets or anything like that, or wants to host one, I'm involved in that somehow. So in that sense, okay, now we've gotten that community. Let's work on something else. What else can I offer?
Yeah.
And just recently, like you noticed, is me focusing more on the food aspect.
Yeah.
And I've always loved food. Everybody that knows me says I'm very picky with my food. So I was like, might as well, utilize that and showcase it.
Yeah.
And when I put my stamp on food, it's going to be good. That's basically what I'm going by. I'm a food critic. I'm going by, so in that sense, I've already seen 100 followers from last 2 weeks ago grow.
Wow.
And
nice.
and that's good. It's been at a standstill for a while. I'm talking about like for 5 months, it's been at a standstill, and 100 followers just from posting 2 reels about food,
Yeah.
So that should tell you something. And the numbers are very important to keep track of as an influencer. I mean, just with any kind of field that you're in, they say numbers don't lie. Obviously that's, in certain scenarios, but in this case, yes, they show you statistics. Instagram gives you the tools to show you, okay, analytics, just like YouTube has always done over these years and grew, these YouTubers.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at. It's just like, okay, let's do the food stuff. I mean, I did fashion and cars for a while, and I'm at the peak now, so it's either I start going downhill or adapt to change, right?
Yeah. It's cool because I think that your brand is nice because it's really adaptable. Like, I feel like if I'm a company, whether I'm a local restaurant or like a car company or whatever, I'm like, oh, okay, I feel like the vibe of what he's doing is all one cohesive picture, and I can just plug our product into that. So that way, if somebody's like, hey, we want you to promote, these shoes, but also a car company wants you to drive their car, you're like, awesome. That's, one picture has both of them in it. Like, we're good to go.
Absolutely. Yep. That's what I wanted to start with. It's like when I did the Livin Lavish. Lavish can mean anything.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, that's not lavish. Lavish is a mind state.
Oh, yeah.
I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So it's like anything can be lavish. Food that's, you go to a hole in the wall restaurant that has quality food. That's lavish food. You know what I mean? Like, so in the sense, everybody's like, what's lavish? It's what your definition of lavish is,
Yeah.
So it's I'm lucky to have, chosen that from the start rather than to change and go a different route. It's like, okay, living lavish can mean anything, it's very broad.
It adapts really well, and that's a hole that a lot of people get themselves in. I mean, you have a car page and you name it like hot rods that go fast. It's like you can't do food reviews.
Exactly.
You're done once you're done with cars. I was gonna say on the car side, I feel like your position in kind of the local car community in like the Detroit area is really neat, and I'd be interested to hear you talk about like how that grew to the point it is now, like where and if
absolutely.
if you have a vision of what the future of that car world looks like there, or if it has kind of already arrived at your dream future. If you're like, this is where I always wanted it to be. Like, just tell us about that.
Yeah. So, I look at these car events or these car meets as networking events. And like any event that there's going to be a large gathering, it's a networking. I went to business school, so networking is the most important thing that they teach you in business school. It's who it's all about who you know. So when I started, going to these car meets and just meeting the people that hosted them or meeting the people that organized them, it's like, okay, how'd you get this done? And became very, very familiar with everybody. You see the same people at these car meets because it's like going to any kind of business expo. You're gonna see these important people at these expos because they had a hand in organizing something over 1,000 people come to.
Right.
So in that sense, I mean, I've partnered with a lot of car groups, and one specifically, Modded Detroit. His name is Mitch. He's a great guy. It really depends on who you click with at the same time. It's like, yeah, you could introduce yourself to anybody, but do you guys click? Do you guys, have the same ideas as far as what you want a car group to be like or what you want a car meet to be like? And, Modded Detroit is that. It's like, the thing is with Michigan car meets, big focus on it is Mopar, which is Dodge. And Dodge is known for burnouts and, kind of reckless and crazy driving. It's a Dodge thing. And a lot of these car meets get shut down because, people do utilize that and start, doing these donuts or doing these reckless things.
Yeah.
And with Mata Detroit, we heavily, kind of encourage people to not do that. So that way it's kind of just like, let this car meet not get cut out in an hour.
Yep.
Let this event last all night. Because we have a lineup of things that we're going to be able to do, and it's fun.
Yeah.
So, and that's one thing I gravitated towards is Mata Detroit, is because, okay, yeah, their kind of ideas meet up with mine, and their kind of atmosphere they want to set for the car meets meet up with mine. And now it's like, okay, if you want to organize very well car meet, it's like kind of, okay, let's advertise it well. Let's, promote it well. Let's promote it in a positive light, because when you think car group or car meet, it's like, oh my God, those guys are just getting their boneheads. They're going to go crazy in this parking lot. And it's like, no, they're professional events that are held,
Yeah.
So, I mean, you've seen me at one of these Ann Arbor Cars and Coffee.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It's a very tasteful event. And this is the
really
kind of
is.
that, it's like, and they have this every first Saturday of the month for the whole summer.
Yeah.
So, it won't last that long. Tradition doesn't last if it's not, if it's not done correctly, and if it's not, kind of repeated. It's not tradition if it's not more than once, right?
Yeah.
So in that sense, I mean, you want something that lasts. You want something that it's a brand that you can, tie to something positive. I mean, look at these brands nowadays. It's like they don't want anything to do with someone that might have a negative connotation
right
in the press.
Right.
So that's my name. It's like, I want, anybody that thinks, okay, Livin Lavish, I know that if, I work with him, nothing is going to get pushed back or nothing could be, done wrong. So that's what I try to build. I mean, in this world, all you have is your name and your brand. That's what I go by. And that's very important to me. So it's like anything that my name is tied to, I want it to be, tasteful at least and done well. Yeah. And that's why I've been being able to have these opportunities, to be honest with you, Peter. If I can tell anybody, how to, what's a good way to actually build a brand, is just be in that positive light instead of less towards the negative limelight, and build on your brand. And at the same time, these companies can recognize that they don't want, they do background checks. These companies, they want to make sure nothing pops up when we Google your name.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, we don't want any kind of ties to someone that might have done a burnout and got pulled over and is on the news, or, something like that, and, I'm glad to not have, done anything like that or been in kind of any kind of situation like that, because I'm very careful as to what I do.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I mean, building on a brand and just making sure that brand is coincides with what company you want to work with. I mean, if I ever want to work with a big company like Nike, they don't want to work with someone that's a knucklehead, right?
Right. Right.
At any point in their life. So the internet, everything is forever on the internet, right? Yeah. It's like you post something, it's going to be there forever. So regardless of how you delete it, whatever, blah, 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 there is always going to be your presence there. And that's what I went into this realizing, is the internet will never forget. It's like an ex-girlfriend, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, on the car side, it's like, you're going to meets that are a lot more, they're like put together. There's these events, they're classy, they're whatever. The other advantage there is you're not risking damaging your own car, somebody else's, getting somebody's feelings hurt. There's all of that kind of goes away, which is nice. And I think this brings to kind of a bigger question about influencer marketing and digital media presence and things like that, which is, how can you do it in an ethical way? Which is not to say in like a way that 100% of the time makes everybody happy, because that's impossible. There's always going to be somebody who's like, he shouldn't have wrapped the Maserati. He should keep it, and it's like, whatever. You can't. But in a way where you're going to be able to look back though in 5 years, 10 years, whatever, when you're at an even bigger place and say, I'm so glad that I built it on these like solid building blocks, where nobody's going to, call me and be like, hey, they found that clip of you from 10 years ago. They're going to say that it's like, hey, they found that clip of that restaurant you reviewed and it was great. There's no, I think that we got to be smart enough to think about what's happening to what has happened to a lot of people now from 10 years ago. Say, okay, then what's the content I'm going to make today? I'm going to make stuff that I assume, it's a little out there. Or maybe it's kind of whatever, but it'll be fine. Or do I want to put intention into that, think about it, and be like, okay, this could come back to bite me, and it's not worth if I get temporary reward,
Yeah.
you know, it's not worth that's the downfall. I feel like you could get in the car and, you know, do some crazy
something,
burnout in a parking lot and, you know, and whatever, hit somebody's cart in a grocery store. But that isn't going to yield. It may yield immediate virality, but then tomorrow or the next day, you now have this kind of stain on your presence where,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
it just doesn't pan out. So I think that's I think that's really cool.
And that's a good point, to be honest with you, Peter.
Yeah.
I mean, just to add to it, it's like you've seen those videos that do go viral. You ever click on the person's page that's tagged, like they have 500 followers? It's like, okay, they got one viral video. They had their 10 minutes of fame or whatever they call it, and that's it.
Yep.
And it's not fame that we're reaching for. Don't get me wrong. It's not that. It's actually a legacy that we're building and a good foundation. So, you know, if you have no legs to stand on, yeah, it's gonna fall apart.
Yeah. So what's the next? Maybe not directly like next chapter, like tomorrow, whatever. But what is the vision of Livin Lavish? Is it first we do food and, you know, and make that as big as the car stuff, and then we kind of level? Like, what's the trajectory for you? Or is it something where as the platforms change, it's like I don't know until I get there, but I'll know and be able to tackle it? Like, what's that process for you?
That's exactly that, to be honest with you, Peter. I mean, recently, I don't know if you're the one that's seen it, but I think you mentioned it. But when I modeled for Ford's Mustang,
yeah.
So I couldn't even dream about, okay, the new release of a car in 2 years. I'm gonna be the first one to see it. I'm gonna be the first one in it. You know, I couldn't even kind of fathom it. I couldn't even imagine. I'm on set here in the undisclosed location that they send me at 2 a.m. to a map. Yeah, it was the map, the PDF file said code red location. And I woke up to this, like, it's like, I didn't even know where I was shooting the day before. And it's that secretive, and it was a big deal, you know, and I couldn't even imagine, okay, if you told me a week ago or a year ago, hey, you're going to be in the secret location with a production crew of 30 people doing hair and makeup with your own trailer. I'm like, whatever, you know, it's like, and I always like tied my Maserati to it. And it's like, okay, yeah, my Maserati, I'm going to, you know, probably work with Maserati one day. In reality, it's like, no, that's limiting, that's limiting to just you. That's limiting to just Maserati, where no, you could go and branch out to Ford Mustang. You could go, like, it was a surreal feeling. I worked till 3 a.m. and mind you, I sleep at 10:30. Like I was not tired at 3 a.m. I was just taking it all in. I didn't want it to end. Like we were filming and I was just like, wow, this is crazy.
That is wild.
You know, and you're telling me, like, okay, what's the next step? I don't know. Like, I posed for Mustang and the car doesn't come out in 2 years. And I just thought that was kind of something that clicked in my head. It's like, you can't really plan stuff like this.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it just happens. It seems like for you in the most like clandestine spur of the moment thing. But then now that's as big or bigger than that letter signed by Will Smith. Like, you have something else now that's even another step up that you never could have put on a list and said, I'm going to go model for Ford's new car.
Exactly.
That's super cool. Was there any, like, what was the beginning of that? Like, how did you find out that they wanted to connect with you? Was there where was that initiated?
So one of my friends, he does YouTube. He's huge on YouTube. His name is Dula Mula. He's a comedian. I did a video with him recently.
Nice.
I told him, hey man, I want to get into acting. You know, I always wanted to act. I took acting classes in college just for getting that extra credit to graduate. And he's like, look, they're actually auditioning for extras for, Detroit is always a film location. So they're auditioning for extras. You should go to an agency, apply, see if they like you, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. I'll just fill out this agency profile and see what happens. You know, they did end up emailing me to be an extra.
Nice.
But I declined it. I was like, I don't want to be an extra. Maybe I want to be something, And then another email came in and it's like, Ford wants you, they were interested in your profile, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what? This isn't real. I called my agent. I'm like, hey, Kathy, what's this about Ford? She's like, look, they liked your look and they think, and obviously Ford is big in Michigan and in Dearborn. And I'm sure my look really does match the target demographic.
Sure. Yeah.
So, and it's like, yes, that's, not to downplay on, what my talent is, but at the same time, it's like they chose me out of, a lot of people.
Yeah.
So that was kind of humbling. It was very crazy, surreal feeling. And that's when I was like, okay, this is real. So
Yeah.
I had my hair pretty long at the time. And my agent was like, okay, look, your pictures are what, 6 months old? I'm like, yeah. She's like, anything changed since then? I'm like, yeah, my hair is a little longer. And this is when I knew it was like, I'm serious about what I want to do. I was growing my hair out. Like it was just like something that I wanted to do is grow my hair out. And then they're like, well, Ford doesn't want you. It wants you to match your picture. So I'm like, all right, I got a haircut that night. Like, I was like, I'm so serious about this.
Oh
And this
man,
just shows how committed I am to it.
that's wild.
Someone might think it's silly. Oh yeah, you got a haircut, bro. It's like I worked 6 months to grow,
Right.
groom my hair long and everything.
Oh yeah, I completely
So
understand.
Like, yeah. I see you're growing it up.
I've got the ponytail now. It's
It
like a
looks
whole
good,
deal.
exactly.
And
I was
yeah,
was
you
close
feel
to
like
a
you're
ponytail.
getting the call, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. That's gone. Like to be
That's
in a
gone.
Ford
Let's do this.
ad.
Yeah, whatever you need, let's do it.
Yeah.
And it was just like, okay, I'm very serious about this opportunity, and it paid off. And that's how serious I am about following my dreams. And I think anybody that has the door knocking, it's like the door's knocking, you better open it and do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not
I mean,
another opportunity is not going to come up like this.
exactly. And also, it's knowing your worth because you talk about, you get this call to be an extra, and you're kind of like, I don't know. You probably would have been on set for that, having to reject the Ford email because you were just like, oh, whatever. I'll take, knowing kind of what you can accomplish right now and being like, that's what I'll do when I can get something like that,
Exactly.
and not undercutting yourself for no reason. What's the on-set experience like for that? I mean, I don't know if you can tell me, but it's
So look, I get there. I mean, the security checks you in and stuff, and security doesn't even know that there's what's on the site.
No way.
Yeah, like security. He's like, "Are you, like he just checks your name if it's on the list." I'm like, "Do you know where I go?" He's like, "No." They just told me to. Yeah, they just told me to let you in. And then the producer comes in his car and he's like, "Follow me." And then we go, and I meet the stylist and the hair and makeup and everybody, and my agent is kind of telling me the itinerary of what's going to happen. They already gave us the schedule, mind you, at 2 a.m.
Sure.
First, we got to set. There's a trailer, a huge RV. Like, this is kind of like the Maybach of RVs, bro. It was like huge, and it was hot that day. I remember it was very hot, and it's like, okay, yeah, you can go in the trailer and just wait for the makeup artist to go in there, and we're gonna have food in a little. I'm like, food is gonna be something normal, like it's something small. Probably they gave us some McChickens or something.
Yeah,
bro. They kind of like they had the whole thing catered. It was like, and then like the driver of the RV was telling me how, yeah, yesterday we had the stunt drivers out here. I'm like, dang, that's crazy. He's like, yeah, man, it was crazy, and it's like, oh, we had like the best food, blah blah blah. I mean, that's cool. And then one of the producers comes on into the RV and he's like, okay, so once we get on set, it's either we're gonna tape off your phone cameras, or we're gonna keep your phones here. And I'm like, yeah, well, I'll just keep my phone here because I have a habit of looking at my phone. I do not want to be on set looking unprofessional. So we drive we eat. I'm getting to know everybody on there's 30, 40 people on set. Like, I'm thanking everybody for having me, and everybody's like, man, thank you for coming. Like, you're the talent, bro. People were coming up to me and asking me, you're the talent, and I was just caught off guard by that. Like, I'm the talent. What?
Yeah.
And that's what they refer to it as in the industry. Like, oh, you're the talent. You're the talent. Wow. And then like the director, I met the director, which is awesome dude. He's basically what you think a director would look like, and he's wearing a white tee with jeans and Converses, and he's like, yeah, I'm the director. I'm from Philly, man. How are you? I'm like, I'm good, man. Thanks for having me, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, he wanted to get to know me kind of just to get an idea, I guess, because he's directing. So yeah, I guess he has to know the talent and understand them. Yeah. So it was just his technique and whatnot. So it was awesome. That was an awesome experience. So then we go drive on set, and these cars are covered up.
Okay. I was going to ask about that. If you could even see the car, even though you're in it.
So listen to this. No, I get to see them, but So the cars are covered up. They come in on a semi truck.
Okay.
And mind you, we're out on a private property. It's open. So
Okay.
we got security everywhere. And I'm like, what if they get drones? He's like, yeah, security is authorized to shoot them down. Like, that's how crazy
No
it is.
way.
Like, I'm like, what the heck? Yeah. and then the semi truck, they start unloading the cars, and they unload the cars. They're covered up, and they have this tunnel. It looks like an airport tunnel. This is where they do most of their shooting, I guess,
Okay.
or their test driving. And that way, nobody can fly anything above us and see what we're doing.
Yep. That makes sense.
So the cars are in the tunnel, and then they unwrap them. And I'm like, whoa, like I'm looking at this car. We're one of probably, I want to say, a handful of people that got to see this car.
Wow.
Like, even engineers that are like, I work in a bank, so I have clients that are engineers at Ford, head engineers at Ford.
Yeah.
That told me they haven't seen the car, and that when it does come in for them to work on in their department, it's covered up, and only that spot that they're working on is exposed. So they don't even know how it looks like.
Jeez.
And when I told them that I know how it looks like, they did not believe it. It was like, bro, I don't, like, you can't tell me anything that you did not see. I'm the head engineer of this and that and this and that, and I haven't seen it. And I'm like, man, it was really an honor. That made me realize, like, the weight of how crazy this is.
Yeah.
So then they unwrap the cars, and I'm like, whoa, and I'm in awe. And the producers can appreciate that because he had the head of marketing for Ford there. The head of marketing can appreciate, like, I'm a car guy. So
yeah,
it was kind of like, they're like, look at Gabriel. They're like, look at Gabriel. He's like a kid in a candy. I was like, I was just like, this is crazy. They had two cars, and they showed us both of them, and we got to be in both of them. And so then, we started shooting. And I remember, like I've worked on Instagram and done my own shooting, done my own pictures, done my own videos this whole time.
Yeah.
So I thought, I looked at it as practice. Okay, this is my time to actually show. Mind you, a lot of people they kind of don't think models or anybody that's in the film or photography industry, it's easy. It's not.
Right.
You don't want to look like you're posing too hard. You don't want to look like you're doing something. So I practiced this whole time for this moment.
Yeah,
That's what was going through my head. It's like, okay, this is just, another day of photo shoot. Like, you're shooting a picture. It's like, Instagram, let's do this. You've done this for your whole life, pretty much. So I'm doing my own thing, right? The photographer is not guiding me or anything. I remember just like, he's like, okay, you want to look kind of like you're a badass. This is the Ford Mustang. Yeah. And I'm like, I got this. I always try to look like that on Instagram. All right, I'm a badass. I'm living lavish right now. This is my alter ego I'm stepping into.
That's great.
And it was epic because I knew that all my hard work was paying off because the photographer wasn't saying a word. And he stopped mid photography and he's like, you're doing great. You look great in all these pictures. Like, you're the easiest person to photograph. I was like, wow, like that's real talent. Like I really kind of underplayed taking pictures and posing for Instagram because modeling is hard. It's not like something anybody could do because everybody's go-to pose, even my friends, is like
yeah. Hey, no, there's such an art to like finding the thing that works for you, like how to put your personality into how you. And I mean, modeling is such a difficult job, and it's so cool for you because they're probably like, we like this guy's look. He's at this agency, and that's all they know. And then like, he's a car guy, so he appreciates the product. He has all this experience, like in front of a camera. There's all these factors.
It was so like at one point, and the shot that they use for the website, they still have so much footage. I don't know what they're gonna do with it, like videography footage.
Nice.
And they at one of the shots that they used was like, okay, you're in the car and you're looking to your right, and someone wants to race you, and you're like, okay, I'm in a Mustang, you know, like a badass, like I'm gonna beat you in this Mustang,
right?
And it was like a whole film, it felt like, and I was like, man, I do this all the time. Like I really thought I was gonna race this guy. I looked to my right, nobody was there. And I look and I just kind of menacing smile. And they used that shot. And I was like, that was so organic. Like, I really felt like I was one with the car. Yeah. So it was that was like, okay, the photographer can feel my intensity. I could feel the intensity. It was captured perfectly. Like, I want to give like their kudos is like they do they know what they want. They know what they're gonna use. Like they probably took 1,000 shots, more than thousands of shots, and they're like, we're using only 5 of them.
Yeah, yeah. And it's dope because you have done all of your stuff for Livin Lavish by yourself and gotten really good at it and honed it. And now you have 30 or 40 people on set helping you do what you have been able to do 100% yourself. You know,
exactly. And it was easier.
Yeah, exactly. It probably feels easier. Yeah. That's so cool. I think, I mean, I'm hoping one day I open YouTube and I click something and the ad before is a Mustang ad and there you are. You know, that'd be sweet.
I'm hoping too. Like the car didn't release yet. It's not going to release in 2 years. Who knows what they're going to be using?
Yeah. For. Oh, yeah. I mean, they got to shoot all that stuff so far in advance that I'm sure, you know, they've got a hard drive somewhere that's like, this is that footage. And when we're ready for ads, like, there it goes.
Absolutely.
Which is great. And it's cool to, you know, you get that insider access where like now you talk about networking at the car meets and things for local stuff, but also now like you're in their list. If they go, hey, who's the easiest to photograph? Who knows about cars? Like who has a cool look? All that stuff. You're checking every box ahead of time.
Absolutely.
So I feel like that's way more likely for them down the road to be like, yeah, we know that guy. We know he's going to do great and he'll be there on time and he'll, you know, we can talk to him at 2 a.m. and he's fully awake and ready.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of people that wouldn't take that, you know, as well.
My agent told me the same thing, like exactly what you said. It's like the way you portrayed yourself, the way you acted off set, very professional. You know, this is exactly what they want. No, regardless of how great pictures are, if you're a guy that's not likable on set, guess what? They're not going to hire you. No matter if you got $1 million smile.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's like the way I acted offset, the way I portrayed myself offset, I swear to you, the director told me, this is your first time you said? No, it's not. I'm like, yeah, it is. I promise you. I've been on set for a TV show for 1 episode.
Sure.
But that's going to air. I'm going to tell you that later.
Yeah.
Air. But it was very similar to that feeling. But I'm still a rookie on this stuff. I'm still a rookie. I've never been on set like all the time.
Yeah.
So then they told me that it doesn't seem like it's your first time.
That's
because
great.
You're acting so professionally. And I was like, thank you. Like, my agent told me that after the fact, the next day, she was like, you know, this is how you want to be. This is how I want all my clients to act, is you, the way, you know, you portrayed yourself respectfully. You didn't talk too much. Because, man, people do get, you know, if you're talking about yourself, if you're talking about anything for too long, people are trying to focus on work, you know. I'm not trying to have side conversations while people are shooting. Yeah, I'm gonna quiet on set, even though it's a photography. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so dope. Well, I want to get into that the TV show you mentioned because I think when I was in Michigan and we talked at the car meet, you mentioned something about it, and I thought it was cool, but I didn't get all the information. I want to know like what is that? Where's that going? When's that come out? Like, what's the story there?
Just like how Ford made us sign non-disclosure agreements, I could just kind of give you an idea. I can't name the show or anything like that. Okay. But the show is a food show, and you know, Michigan is I would say one of the best places to eat food around the whole world. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, I've traveled to the Middle East. If I want to get a glimpse of the Middle East, I'm in Michigan. You know, the food wise, they bring their chefs over. People that open restaurants in Michigan. People don't know this, but if you're opening a restaurant in Dearborn, the Arab capital of the country, they get the chefs directly from the Middle East. They don't speak a lick of English. Yeah,
no way.
Because these recipes you can't learn them on YouTube or you know, these are things I was like, okay, we're gonna get this chef from Lebanon or from Iraq, and he's gonna be our chef on salary. We're gonna give him a place to stay, and we're gonna build this restaurant on that. Yeah, and you know, that's why I think Michigan is top tier as far as food goes, because you can price cut all you want, you know, like to kind of keep up with other restaurants. But at one point it's like, okay, every restaurant has lowered their price as much as they could. Now it's all about quality. So what tastes the best? Because everything's priced similarly, you know. Right. It's like, so that's just, I kind of get into economic standpoint every time I try to discuss that. But and Michigan, so the food show came to Michigan, and they're like, hey, what's Michigan known for is the Motor City, you know, it's cars. So you know, the producer reached out to me on Instagram, very casual. It wasn't an email where I have professional email proposal templates made. Yeah. And like, it was something in a DM. Like, she slid in my DMs and she was like, hey, I'm a producer for this TV show. I'm like, all right, I'm listening. Like I don't know, like I get DMs all the time about scammers. You know what I
Sure.
mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So she's like, I'm a producer, blah blah. I'm like, all right, cool. Let's connect. Let's talk. Anyway, long story short, this TV show, they focus wherever they go. They try to kind of give them a glimpse of a piece of that culture. So
Mm.
Michigan, the Middle Eastern food. Like I'm gonna ask you, Peter. I mean, I could ask anybody, but I'm gonna ask you. When you think of Middle Eastern food, what do you think of?
I'm, I don't know. I'm not a food guy. Like, I'm not that well versed. I mean, because I just feel like I haven't had it a lot. Even though lived in Michigan my whole life, like
Yeah.
I'm just not that
So
well
like if I
versed.
name
But
a couple, you'll know. I'm like tabbouleh
okay.
and shawarma. Like those
Oh
are the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
known
Okay,
ones.
yeah,
Universal, right? It's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh, shawarma, tabbouleh, fattoush, falafel.
yeah,
Everybody has
yeah. I
falafel,
think falafel is what I would have thought of. Yeah, yeah.
right? So this the TV show is like, this is what everybody knows about Middle Eastern food. Falafel, blah blah blah. We can go and record a falafel joint. We could go and record a
Mm,
shawarma joint. This is primarily, this food is Lebanese.
mm.
This food that's majority everybody knows, that's universally accepted in America, is Lebanese food. You could say Syrian, you could, but tabbouleh is a Lebanese dish, Lebanese
Sure.
salad. So she's like, and I don't know if you've seen it where I show my culture a lot on my
Yeah,
Instagram too.
yeah,
So I showed my Iraqi culture. I'm very in tune with my culture. So I do wear the whole Arab garb
yeah.
sometimes, shoot it on Instagram, and excuse me, and people see that and can appreciate that. And sometimes I get negative feedbacks just from people that don't know about it. It's like
Sure.
ignorance. Negativity comes from ignorance. If
Oh
someone
yeah.
wants to learn something, it's like, but so they seen that I was Iraq. So he's very in tune with his culture.
Mm-hmm.
And then they asked me, they're like, we always showcase Arab food and it's Lebanese. What's Iraqi food like? I'm like,
Mm.
wow, that's a good question. I could show you. There's only like a few spots in Michigan that are very, very Iraqi focused. Like
Yeah.
even if you go to an Iraqi restaurant, it'll be kebab. Like
Oh.
that's the main Iraqi dish, kebab. And it's like, no, there's a lot of dishes that Iraq is known for.
Yeah.
So they told me that, okay, you're Iraqi. We want to showcase Iraqi food. And at the same time, we're in the Motor City. We want to show cars too. They're like, look, you got food going, you got the Iraqi thing going, and we want you to bring cars in the mix. I'm like, say less, That's perfect, So
Yeah.
I was
It's
like,
built
okay,
for
let me
you.
call up. I was like, bro, I'm throwing the biggest car meet. I got so carried away. I'm talking to the producer. I'm like, these are my ideas. They're like, yeah, but we gotta go by COVID protocol, so we can't have
Oh
this 100%
yeah.
carpet. I'm like, okay, what do you want? What's doable? I could do it. Like what, 7, 8 people? It's like, yeah, that's perfect. So, they wanted these cars to come through, do some car activities, and then they wanted to go to the Iraqi restaurant after. And during this time, it was during Ramadan, so it's kind of like a whole everything is a great episode.
Yeah.
And we got the cars together. We did like car activities as far as burnouts goes and stuff. This is all in a closed kind of area.
Yeah.
And the production company paid to rent this whole parking lot, and
Nice.
it was all permitted. Like I remember seeing police that were watching us across the street and not doing anything because this was on private property. It was crazy.
That's great.
And yeah, it was epic. And
So-
then we ended going to the Iraqi place that nobody would have known. Even if you Google this place, it's like, bro, they told me we Googled Iraqi cuisine and only like Lebanese restaurants popped up. What is going on over there? Is there any Iraqi restaurants? I'm like, there's a lot of Iraqi restaurants. It's just they're not on Google. The ad clicking is not there. You got to pay to have the first link.
Right.
And
right.
To be honest with you, I'm not even first generation American, so you got to understand, like, a lot of these immigrants don't know about this, ad revenue or ad clicking.
Right.
Like, so you're telling me a Google rep will come to me and show me how many clicks my ad? No, like it'll go right over their head. They're just starting up their mom and pop restaurant.
Yeah.
So I took them to this place. It was amazing. Like the whole show was like kind of focusing on, okay, how I came to America, how I grew up, and it was very, very, very humbling at the same time. and showcasing Iraqis on TV in America, because Detroit, it's people don't know this, but it's a huge Iraqi community in Detroit. I mean, Iraqis came in the 90s, over 80,000 Iraqis came to America. Yeah. And people don't know that there's a big, presence of Iraqis in Dearborn or in Detroit now. So in that sense, it was kind of nice. It was nice to represent for my people. Yeah. And at the same time, kind of like promote my Instagram, promote the car community, it was all like everything was coinciding. This was before the Ford shoot. This was last year. Okay. They still haven't aired it because they're waiting till Ramadan comes this year so they can air the Ramadan episode. It's very smart. Yeah, marketing is more of it. It's like Halloween episodes. It's like people, like you're watching TV. It's like, oh, why is every episode a Halloween episode right now? Oh, October,
Yeah, yeah. It's cool too. You've got a couple projects that have been shot so far in advance that now you have kind of these stories, and you have maybe it's smaller scale, and you're able to tell people, hey, like I did this and it's cool. But when it drops, when it really hits the front page, that you're gonna have a second wave of being able to be like, look, I did these really high profile things, which is super dope. That's so cool. I think it's neat when you have done the things the way that you've built your platform to be focused on like authenticity, local stuff specifically. So then when a company like the TV show and production company reaches out to you, they're talking to somebody who already focuses on local stuff. So it's not like your goal is to be like, yeah, I know all the spots in like Los Angeles and New York and Chicago, and what, like you're like, I know where I am and I know that community really well. And it happens to be a huge cultural center, which is awesome. And so it's cool that you're able to be like, here's the stuff that's not on Google, but hopefully they'll get exposure and get a huge boost in sales. And all because you years ago are like, I should start this Live and Lavish thing and like try to build something here. It's just so cool. I think people talk a lot about when you're making stuff online, like the discouraging thing can be when you don't get immediate results, right? And that's obviously very real. You make something, you think that nobody cares.
Instant gratification.
Yeah, exactly, instant gratification. But the consistency and the like, I'm just gonna do this because I love it. And eventually that comes through and that pays off. It's so cool to see that. And it's cool that you've had multiple instances now for that to take that bigger form.
Absolutely. And I would say, the consistency, like I said, I mean, every successful person, like there's this, that meme that was happening. It's like, would you take $500,000 or dinner with Jay-Z?
Right.
Jay-Z is just going to tell you to stay consistent. Like, everybody's like laughing at that. It's like, you take the dinner with Jay-Z and he ends up telling you, don't give up on your dreams. It's just, it's like, this is that simple. It's like, okay, let's just stay consistent. At one point, something's going to take, I like one of these lines that, I listen to Drake's music, and he used to actually rent a Rolls Royce before he was famous, rent a Rolls Royce like every week to showcase like, okay, this rap career is taking off, and he's paying for this out of pocket. He wasn't making six figures. He wasn't like he was living lavish in his mind. He was lavish.
Yeah.
And outside in the big picture is like he was lavish. He was you kind of manifesting. That's what he says. He's, just like The Secret, I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but it's like manifesting is the secret. It's like, okay, always envision you being this or you being successful. Whether, I want to be, I didn't envision myself I'm going to be in a Mustang shoot, but I envision myself I'm going to be successful. Yeah. In that sense. And the consistency, Drake will say something like, something else has got to give other than me, so it's like life's got to give, something's got to give. So in that sense, it's always just staying consistent. I mean, as cliche as it sounds, and cliches are cliche for a reason because they're true. And that's what it is.
The person who posts or creates content or works in their community or whatever and does it more than once is already out in front of probably half the people who have ever, like that's what they say. It's that with the sequences, like the Fibonacci sequence that like it starts large and it goes in half every time. It's like every time you create something consistently and put it out, you've cut off half of the people who quit at that point. And so now
Yeah,
you're in the 50% that continued,
you're
and you
ahead of
continued.
you're ahead of it. Yeah,
Exactly,
absolutely.
and you get down to that point where you're in this extremely small pool, but those are the successful people. Those are the ones who just said, doesn't matter if I feel like giving up. Like, I might get that letter from Will Smith tomorrow, so I'm going to
Yeah.
do it. Like, I just think that's really cool, and it's something that people tend to undercut now when they talk about, like, platforms and stuff. It's like, I'm just going to go on TikTok, I'm going to make 5 videos, one of them's going to get me famous, and then I'll
Yeah.
just retire with the money. And it's like,
And
that's
that
not
might
a
be the
system.
case, you know?
I mean, yeah,
With TikTok, that might happen,
that
but
is
that's
true.
very slim.
Right.
But, you know, like, you have to have a plan in place. So, yeah, like you said, I mean, it's not a silver bullet. It's not like a recipe for, okay, these are the steps to become the most, you know, successful person on social media. It's
Yeah.
like, no, just stay consistent. You'll end up finding your niche. In my case, I'm still finding other niches, you know?
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. If you have stuff that you're interested in right now that would become another thing you would start covering. Is there anything that you are like passionate about that we haven't seen on the Live and Lavish page?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, is acting. Acting
Mm.
is something that, you know, I gravitated to also. Like during, you know, once I just did it, I loved it. You know, I finally got to do one video with a friend that you know, had kind of the opportunity to act.
Yeah.
In that sense, even though it was on a small scale, it was still in my head, okay, I have to play this character, I have to be in character.
Yeah.
So the acting might, you know, you'll see clips of me, you know, other and playing different roles,
Yeah.
just to see if I can kind of adapt and be that flexible. So acting is probably going to be another niche that I'm going to be putting on my page and utilizing that in that sense.
That's so sick.
I mean, it was a comedic video too, and it was
Yeah.
like, it has nothing to do with my page, but yet all my followers and all my, you know, my Instagram fam, I call them, they
Yeah.
appreciate it. They're like, yo, you're always up to something, and this is gold. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
I did not expect to go on a car page or a fashion page or a food page and see a comedic video where you're playing this, you know, bodyguard that's so serious, and you're, you know, it was a funny video.
Yeah.
So it's like, it came out of nowhere, and these are the things that I'm glad and grateful for, that my audience and Instagram, I could be that flexible and throw anything out there, and I'll still target a different demographic.
Yeah, that's dope. That's really exciting. I can't wait to see how that stuff goes.
Yeah,
and I feel like
same
that has,
here, man.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can't wait to see how it goes.
It's got so much potential to move like your trajectory, like growing as like a creator, but also the page itself. Like when people see, oh, he did a video with so and so, or like he acted in this commercial, or he was on set during this, like that is an instant follow. You know, it's like I want to see that insider,
Absolutely.
whatever. And for the people that are local that know you from the car meets and know you from going to restaurants and the food stuff, they're gonna see that and be like, that's awesome, because that's a guy that supports people around him, and he's getting
Absolutely.
rewarded for that, which I think is really cool.
And I'm so grateful. Like, even if, let's say, for example, I stop now, I'm so grateful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this is the kind of thing where you have to appreciate everything that happens to you. It's important. It's like, just appreciate everything that happens, good and bad.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I want to let you go. I don't want to hold you too long here. We got a good hour down, and I'm really excited that we got to cover this stuff. And I think
I appreciate this.
Yeah,
I
for the
enjoyed
listeners
it.
too.
Honestly,
Like,
an hour already? That flew by.
I know. Yeah, I know.
That's
Everybody I've talked to, I'm like, I could go hours and hours, but want to make sure people can listen to it and get all the.
Absolutely.
But we'll have you back for sure. I think
Sounds
especially
good.
once the TV episode comes out, I'll 100% would love to have you back and talk about it. And that once you'll be able to reveal a little bit more about kind of where it happened and all that. So.
I mean, you're the first podcast that I was on, so I'll never forget that.
There we go. There we go. Fantastic. All right. Well, it was great to talk to you, man. I will.
Nice talking to you too.
Yeah, I'll connect with you soon.
Take care. All right.
See you, man.